indeed a great pleasure to be hosting another exciting episode of Inspirational Notes with Inspiration. And we welcome you all, dear viewers. Thank you for your support during these inspirational episodes. On today's show, we are joined by an extraordinary young Namibian woman who has done extraordinary things. At the tender age of 24, our guest on today's show is a qualified lawyer and a social justice advocate. She served once as a junior mayor for the Commerce region, as an acting speaker for the Children's Parliament, and in March 2020, history was made when she was appointed by the President of the Republic of Namibia, His Excellency Dr. Hage G. Geingob, as the Deputy Minister of Information and Communication Technology. She is reigning as the youngest Deputy Minister in the Republic of Namibia and on the African continent. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest has been recognized in the top 100 most reputable Africans, as well as the top 100 influential women in 2020. What an inspirational young lady. It now gives me great pleasure because the excitement is now getting too much. So I'd like to pause here and welcome our guest, Honorable Emma Theofelus. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Miriam, for having me.
It is indeed an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for making time to share your inspirational story with us. So from the onset, we'd like to talk about your childhood. Mm-hmm. When and where were you born? And while you share your story of your birth, just tell us who was the most influential person in your life as a child.
Well, I was born in Windhoek, Commerce region, here in the Republic of Namibia. I was born on the 28th of March in 1996. Mm-hmm. The most influential person who had a lot of influence on me, who I looked up to as a child, has been my mother. She's the one who gave me my first book to read. She's the one who guided me and believed in me and encouraged me. Of course, reprimanded me. But she has been the biggest inspiration for me up until now. I've learned so much from her as a child, and I continue to learn a lot from her till today.
That's remarkable. How would you describe your parents as a child, in your view as being a child? How would you describe your parents?
They were very supportive. Both my mother and father made it a point to continuously support all my schooling activities, my extracurricular, that sometimes it overwhelmed my schoolwork. But they were confident that I could balance and I could juggle everything. And they always wanted me to be confident in everything I did. If I was not feeling confident enough, they would say rather don't do it or try something else. But they were really supportive, and I felt that support from them in every step I took.
Indeed, we thank God for your parents. They have indeed given birth to a remarkable young lady.
Thank you.
You're doing great strides for the Republic of Namibia and the continent at large.
Thank you.
Seeing that you once served as a junior mayor for the Commerce region, would you just like to share where you attended your high school, as well as what your favorite subjects were, and if you were involved in any extramural activities?
Yes. So, I attended Commerce High School. It's a school in Windhoek North. Before that, I went to People's Primary School. It's a school in Katutura. My favorite subject at school has always been English. I really enjoyed the language. I mean, the vocabulary, the structuring of sentences, all of that amazed me, and how it had influence from other languages like Latin, French. So that has always been something I've been into, and with my love of English, it led me to join debating, for example, as one of the clubs that I joined at school. I also did the spell quiz bee competition a couple of times. So my love for English really allowed me to enjoy in which the language was so dynamic, and everything I did related to that led to a connection with English. Even my most influential teachers for me were my English teachers. Being able to write your story in the class, being able to give oral presentations about an experience you've had, all of those things were powerful for me. So English really shaped a lot of the activities I did in school, which of course led me to junior mayor and children's parliament and so forth.
How was your experience as an acting speaker for the Children's Parliament, and how has that influenced to being the remarkable woman that you are today?
Oh, it was not so easy. I mean, the Children's Parliament is an entity not by statute, but by the legacy of the late Theofelus, who was the Speaker of Parliament at the time I was in the Children's Parliament. And at that time, we, as a group, of course, we were 54, and we came from all over Namibia, but for us who lived and schooled in Windhoek, it was easier to do the activities because the office was reachable. We could, request for funding or sponsorship where we could, and we had a little bit of support. But that experience in all of it really gave me the connections I needed to run projects, whether it's in children's related projects, volunteering, linking up with organizations that could help me. That came in very handy. And just being able to get exposure, that was really instrumental for me, getting exposure with whether it's UNICEF, which are UN agencies, including UNFPA, or just government entities that I can knock on their doors and at least say, I'm from this entity that's trying to empower children and this is what I want to do. So that exposure really came in handy for me, and I fully believe that it contributed to shaping who I am today.
And as a social justice advocate, how has that influenced you? And what were some of the challenges maybe that you experienced? And how has your experience working with children been?
Yeah, it was different at different levels. I worked a lot with organizations that worked with children. I myself attended a kayak youth program called KYD. It's an after-school program that catered for orphans and vulnerable children. Well, I wasn't an orphan per se, but because the center was close to my house, I found it an opportunity for me to do an activity after school when there was nothing to do. And that's why I really got to see that not every child goes through the same childhood in life. And that's where I learned very quickly that what a child goes through determines the adult they'll become. And that for me made me realize that if all children have a stable foundation and a stable starting point, we will not have broken adults in society. And that with that realization, it made me very passionate about children's issues, having access to education, not being abused at home, having something to eat, having just even a school uniform speaks volumes because it reflects with the child the home they're coming from. So all of those things really made me want to be involved in children issues and work with organizations that are trying to protect children's rights. And that, of course, made me realize the importance of education, because I learned very quickly that at school, children feel safer, children get sometimes a meal to eat through the school feeding programs. So, and that's how I got involved with NANSO, the Namibian Students Organization, and that's when I became a secretary for basic education. And that was deliberate because I wanted to deal with children in primary and high school. So there I learned a lot about social justice as well. I was exposed to African authors, I was exposed to African activists and the legacy they left behind. So it became a mixture of activism and caring for children's rights, and I'm grateful for that journey because that's where I learned many life lessons as well.
That's really inspirational at your tender age. So let's talk about Emma the lawyer. What was your first job and what do you consider to be the best working environment?
So my first job was a children's media officer before I became a candidate legal practitioner at a law firm. What I was doing as a children's media officer was looking at legal instruments such as the African Charter on youth, looking at the Namibian Constitution, looking at the Child Care and Protection Bill at the time before it became an act. I was looking at all those instruments to see how the media is reporting about children and seeing what rights they were violating of children in their reporting. I was monitoring things such as putting names of minors in newspapers, therefore exposing their identity in abuse situations or situations that are not good for their reputation as they become adults. So that was very interesting for me. I was passionate about it. I didn't feel like I was working, and that was sort of my first job before I became a candidate legal practitioner, where I worked at a law firm where I was dealing with all types of legal matters, civil, criminal, estates, and all of that. For me, a conducive and positive working environment is one where your efforts are appreciated, where your ideas are welcomed. Whether they will work or not, they are welcomed because it allows you to continuously have ideas and to share them, where your creativity is appreciated and tried out, even if it fails, continuously being tried out, because one day something will work for that company you're at or that institution you're working at. And also just a feeling of appreciation. I think that's the underlying factor. Feeling that your efforts, the work is appreciated, and also if you're not doing so well, that your superiors can guide you when you're not delivering as they would like, or when you're making mistakes, and giving you the benefit of the doubt that you're willing to learn from your mistakes. Yeah.
Indeed, that's something that we can learn from. It's important to appreciate something even if it will not work. That's really a strong quote, and I'm sure it's going to inspire most, as it has inspired me.
Thank you.
I'd like us to touch on love.
Okay.
It's love for your country, love for your family, etc. So how would you rank the following in importance? Family, career, love, and life.
I think I will start off with life. I believe that as individual human beings, we need to lead our own lives in order to lead others. You need to love yourself in order to love others. So I think life comes first. And then I would say second would be family. Family teaches you to love unconditionally. Not all families are perfect, but in their perfections, we learn to love our family. Not just because we are binded by blood, but you accept the other person for who they are, and you try to make them better, and for them to hopefully get to a better version of themselves. And then third would be love, and lastly, career. Because career is something that you can have as a passion, something that fulfills you, that perhaps gives you a purpose. But a career can never love you the same way your family does. And a career can never be there for you the way your own life is there for you. So I would rank it in that order.
Very, very much so. Do you get excited or scared when you're meeting new people?
Well, before I became deputy minister, I used to get excited. I used to get excited to meet people, but now I'm nervous because I don't know what their first impressions of me are, and I don't know what questions they're going to ask me. And some people just stare at me. They don't say anything, so it's very awkward. So it has changed a little bit. I used to be very excited to meet people. I mean, I used to enjoy learning about people's lives, what they do, what they're passionate about. But now it's almost like the attention is changing a little bit, and that makes me a bit uncomfortable. But I think I'll get used to it, and I'll get back to that excitement. But all in all, I'm excited to meet people. That's just who I've been. Yeah.
I can assure you from my part that, you should keep on being excited about meeting new people. Yeah. Because you've now become sort of a force to reckon with. Young people want to learn more about you. You want to be inspired, so as to follow in your footsteps.
I think so, yeah.
It should continue as an excitement.
All right.
We love Emma.
Thank you.
Emma.
Thank you.
So now we're going to touch on political life. The first question would be, what do you consider to be the most significant political event that has occurred during your life?
Well, I think, is this now to me or in general?
Yeah, to you in your life, specifically.
It has been disappointment to be a member of parliament and a deputy minister. I think with my journey of being a young activist and being involved in junior council, children's parliament, NANSO, in general, I always knew I would be policy adjacent. I always knew even becoming a lawyer came out of that thing of respecting the law and realizing that politics shapes our lives. That I've always known and I've always appreciated. And I always knew whether I was going to become member of parliament or deputy minister, I was probably going to be a lawyer like I am now, and that I was probably going to be, working with international multi-organizations that are very close to political life, working with politicians, working with institutions close to politicians. So that has always, I believe, been my interest, and my path has always taken that route. So becoming a member of parliament and being appointed as a deputy minister by His Excellency, the President, Dr. Hage Geingob, was significant because it made me closer, it brought me closer to, for example, parliament. I was there in the children's parliament, so I knew the value of making laws and the impact it had on people. But now I have that opportunity. That august house, to shape laws, and when we shape laws, they can impact people. They are actually shaping people's lives. So for me, that's powerful. And being a deputy minister and being part of the leadership of a ministry, I'm able to bring policies to life. Being able to bring policies to life that also impact people's lives. So for me, that has been the most significant political milestone activity in my life so far.
Indeed so. And really, as young Namibians, we thank the President, Dr. Geingob, for this appointment. Shows that he sees hope in the future in the young people. And sometimes it's not about age, it's about your capability to lead, as you are doing now, inspiring even people not in our country, in Africa and the world at large. So it's indeed a significant milestone.
No, he's a trailblazer. He's a trailblazer. He sets precedents and records all over and all the time.
Oh yes, for sure. Yeah. If you had to choose, what one political or social cause would you give your life?
If I had to choose one social cause that I give my life to, I think it would realize the potential of every child. That I don't think I can ever move away from that. Everything else almost comes secondary. For me, children, we know what people say, young people are the future, they're the fabric of our societies, all of that, they're the future leaders. It's just not words, it's true. But you don't wait until someone is 18 because something would have happened in their life in those 18 years to not make them reach their full potential. So for me, children and reaching their full potential is all I pray for. If every child in this country is protected, feels safe, and is nurtured and guided, our society would be such a utopia. It would be so beautiful because everyone would feel their purpose in life and would want to fulfill it because they've been guided to that destiny.
That's indeed a very beautiful cause to give your life. I'm sure the children really appreciate that from you. So what makes you proud as a Namibian?
Oh, this country is so dynamic. It is just not its physical features and its landscapes. The people, kind. Everyone talks about our kindness. You can go all over the world, you're talking about Namibians' kindness and how warm they are and how receptive they are. And that's nice, and I appreciate that. I just wish we did more to each other as well, and kinder to one another. But that's who we are, that's our DNA. We're kind people, we're receptive. And we're also resilient. And we're not just the length of the brave for nothing. We are truly brave. We have weathered many storms, and we continue to weather many storms. Of course, there are challenges that come with that, but that still remains the core of who we are. We are brave and we're resilient. And we're kind and nurturing and I don't want us to lose that as a country. So many social ills and so many social challenges are trying to rob that of us, but I think we can pull through. push to continuously get back to our core values of life.
So we have Emma the lawyer, Emma the social justice advocate, Emma the former junior mayor, Emma the former active speaker of Children's Parliament. What do you do in your spare time?
Well, Emma in her spare time reads a lot. Tries to read as many books as she can, which have gone down as of recent since the pandemic started because of the crisis we're in and the workload around that. She spends mostly time with her family and friends where she can, especially with family. That's mostly it. I mean, before the pandemic, Emma used to attend a lot of seminars. I used to do a lot of, just going to gain knowledge about different types of topics, the nexus between water, energy, all kinds of things, because I like knowledge, I like learning, I'm sort of like a sponge. So those type of activities really, really excite me and I'm drawn to them. Yeah, but generally, that's what Emma does in this book.
Okay, on a lighter note, what song does Emma often sing in the shower?
Oh, I'm a big fan of Sia and The Weeknd. So right now I'm listening to Blinding Lights by The Weeknd. Well, my local artists that I like Peter Kenny. So I've been listening to the recent songs. Yeah.
and we saw you were once a daughter.
Yes! Let me see the project, looking out for business. Yes. Adora is such a dynamic singer as well, and that experience really was quite interesting. It took me out of my shell a little bit, and it was exciting actually, and it was for a good cause. That's what drawn me to it. So
yeah, I must say, I still watch that video.
Yeah.
Over and over, it's like it happened yesterday. So it's just remarkable, especially the chocolate
and the dancing.
Yes. So that's how dynamic you are too, and we love you for that. So what are the main lessons you've learned in life as we draw up close to our episode?
Well, there are quite many, especially in the past few years, going through university and graduating and reflecting on them. One of the lessons I've learned would be that teamwork actually does make the dream work. You cannot be an island. You need to continuously work with other people, whatever, whether it's, and this expands beyond just work. Even families need to work together. Spouses need to work together. You cannot be alone. Human nature dictates that we're social beings. So collaboration, I've learned, is very powerful. Collaborating with others and working with others. I've also learned to be able to continuously check in with yourself around your career goals, around your education goals, around your relationships with friends, family, acquaintances, colleagues. Check in on yourself and see if you're actually being a good comrade to another comrade, being a good friend, being a good sister, being a good daughter. Because sometimes you just go through life, you don't realize that you're not present or you're not there. So I've learned that is also quite important.
I hate that we are coming to the end of this beautiful episode, talking to the inspirational Emma Theofelus. So, are there any last words you'd like to share to inspire, especially the young people out there, and women and Namibians at large?
Yes, I think, as the saying goes, there's strength in numbers. As Namibians in general, whether young and old, female or male, we are stronger together. And the faster we work on that, the better we'll be. Also, let us not give up on our own individual dreams and goals. It might take longer than we expect, especially this pandemic. COVID-19 has set back many of us in our personal lives and our career lives. And it might feel like it's hopeless, but there is hope. And we need to be resilient, as the theme of this year, 2021, is as declared by is extensive. Let us be resilient, let us push through, let us not give up. Because we are not elected for nothing. So let us not give up on our goals and aspirations, but let us also, once and for all, love and care for one another as Namibians. Let us be our brothers' keepers and our sisters' keepers, because there is strength in numbers.
Thank you very much, Honorable Emma. I know sometimes I just want to say Emma or Comrade Emma. Thank you very much, Honorable Emma Theofelus, for this inspirational session that we shared with you this morning. We'd like to wish you all the best in your endeavors. We are following you, we are following your pages on social media, following the great work you are doing, and we wish you all the best and God bless. Thank you so much.